Hello, fortune seekers. We all have bad days and dark times, and we just want to explore our darker fantasies. Our guest today, Jack Malacat, has a new game, Serial Killer, which allows you to indulge in those dark fantasies. Jack will tell us who deserves to die and all the ways that you can kill them. This and much more in today's episode of the Moth Studios Super Secret Podcast. Shh! Don't tell anybody about it. Welcome back to the show, everybody. I'm your host, expert in delivering pizzas and bad news, Joel Watts, joined as always by...
Danny, super ready to slice and dice.
And this week we are joined by Jack Malacat, creator of the new party game Serial Killer. How are you doing today, Jack?
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me on your show. This is such an amazing experience so far, so I'm very excited.
Well, we're glad that you're excited for the show.
Mhm.
Super excited for you to join us. So on last week's episode, we discussed our approach to balancing our game, as well as practical strategies for breaking up with your best chef friend. If you want to hear about that and the dozens of other topics that we've delved into, just go back into your podcast app or go back into YouTube and watch one of those old shows. But today we are going to decide who deserves to die and how we're going to kill them using Jack's new game, Serial Killer. But before that, I do have a question for both of you guys today. Jack, Danny, are you ready for this?
Sure.
Ready?
All right. Well, okay. So for the question of the week, we're about to get your opinions, Jack, on serial killers. But what do you know about breakfast? What's your favorite cereal?
That would definitely be the Kellogg's cornflakes, plain ones. For some reason, I was obsessed with it when I was a kid.
Really?
Yeah, we put it on everything.
I mean, I know that
what would you
cornflakes-
put it on? Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
I was just going to say, no,
yeah, and-
cornflakes can be like an ingredient on other dishes, like used for texture.
Oh no, yeah. You can use it on a lot of things. But one of the things is in the Philippines, we have this dessert called halo halo.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
it's like a shaved ice with fruits and other preserved stuff in it. And so the cornflakes would give it its crispy texture.
Oh,
Yeah,
that sounds great.
so-
Is
and
there a
it-
good place to get Hala Hala in Houston?
I actually haven't been to any Filipino restaurants here yet. We just moved here last August. I'm looking forward to it. So I'll let you know if I find one.
Okay. All right. Yeah, please do. Hit me up. Let's go.
Yeah, let's
We
do
might
it.
have to ask Irvin.
Definitely. Oh, you know what? Yeah, Kervin would know. He's a local. Yeah.
I'll text him. I'll be like, Curvin, hook it up.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like something we can all indulge in when I get back out there to Houston here in like the next month or so. Danny, what about you? Do you have a favorite cereal from either that you'll eat today or growing up?
Oh, I'm definitely answering today. And the cereal is quite impressive. Let me tell you how impressive it is. It is $15 a box. And you can only buy it, as far as I can tell, at Costco. And the reason why it's $15 a box is the number one ingredient is almonds. It is called Morning Summit, and it is delicious, but it is expensive. So you gotta pace yourself.
I have
you
a
know.
Costco card, so I'll definitely try it.
I highly recommend it.
I was eating this keto cereal for a little bit, to get that extra protein. And it was like $8 a box. And I thought that was like a step too far. Like I had to back off on getting that cereal. And I just can't imagine picking up. Is this an extra large bag or is this like your plain Jane, like Raisin Bran style?
It's a 2-pound box. So I don't really know exactly. It feels like it's a little large. But I will say the box is extremely sturdy. I have never had this sturdy of a cereal box. And I understand that I'm probably paying a little bit extra for the box, but that's okay. But listen, if you haven't bought Serial Killer yet, you should definitely buy Serial Killer so that Jack can afford to try this cereal.
No, it
How many
sounds like
copies of
well, a
Serial Killer
2-pound
would you need?
box. I
Yeah, 5 or
need
6. I'm just kidding. It's what is the price point on Serial Killer, Jack?
it is only 60 per box, so it's very affordable. It's
Nice.
not, yeah. And it's very sturdy, like you said. So sturdy boxes, you pay extra for the box.
Well, when you pick up a box that has the $15 price point on it, you definitely want to feel like it's hefty. You want to feel like I can finish the cereal and then pack things away in this box.
Yeah, the
Oh,
box would
100%.
probably weigh half a pound already. So that's included in the
Absolutely.
2 pounds.
Well, I'm gonna save it for the next time I move.
Yeah. Next time I'm over, I'm going to have some of the cereal, but I'm going to need to like leave a $5 on your counter after I have the cereal.
You
well,
are
just
welcome to try it next time you're over.
Excellent. Well, just to get my answer out of the way, and I don't know, I have just nostalgia for this cereal. It was like one of my mom's favorite, but I love grape nuts, and it's probably like one of the, like it is a rough cereal for your palate, but it just hits the spot for me. You put some bananas on top.
Really?
Yeah. I don't
I
know, there's
mean,
something
I
about
would
the
have
texture.
expected grape nuts as being maybe an answer to a question like, what is the best way to kill someone? But like,
As long
have you
as
had grape
it
nuts,
doesn't.
Jack?
Yes, some cereals attack your mouth, like
Yeah.
or they're sharp or like they're. So as long as it's not one of those, like I'll definitely try it out.
Oh, it definitely attacks. It feels like, I would say grape nuts, and maybe this is where the name comes from. It's like if you ground up a bunch of grape stems, but not well enough. That's kind of the texture of eating grape nuts.
Oh wow!
Yeah. You got to like let it sit there. You got to pour the milk and then let it sit there, let it absorb the milk, let it get just a little bit softer. Unless you're like a psycho like me and you just go straight into it and you're just like, yeah, take that mouth. I deserve this pain. It's probably my
I
Catholic
thought
upbringing.
no, I thought I was the only one who waits it out.
Oh, for it to get a little
Yeah,
softer.
yeah.
I
So
think that's a popular position. I think
okay,
you're in the majority there.
I guess my sisters were psychos then because they just dig in the bowl, right up.
Well, how soft
Nope.
are we talking? Or is it like mush, or is it like just a little bit of?
I still like a little bit of crunch to it,
Yeah, me
but
too.
but it has to be like soft enough so that it doesn't attack the insides of your mouth anymore.
Yeah, I agree.
And it
You don't want
sticks to your
shards of
teeth.
cereal.
Yeah, when it's dry, it sticks to your teeth.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
you don't want bloody gums either. Just. But to me, eating grape nuts is like eating a bowl of gravel. I don't know that you're ever going to
I-
convince me on that one.
Hey, we're talking serial killers today, so I figured I might as well show my psychopathic side by telling you my favorite cereal.
That cereal is a killer for sure.
Dang, that would be a good death card. I'm not sure if we can use the. I'm not sure if we can use the brand though, but
Death by grape nuts.
Grape nuts,
Well, it's
no
parody,
milk.
right? You get away with it as parody or satire. I don't know.
sure you can try it. No, when they take you to court, then that's the route that you're gonna go. But on my cards, like I actually avoid popular stuff because I just didn't want to go through the suing
It's
because
a
I don't have money. I can't
No,
be
I think
sued.
that's smart. That's smart. You gotta take the risk out of the equation.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that we all got an idea of our favorite cereals, from plain to mild to wild. But let's get into learning more about you, Jack. So
Oh.
you have a new game out called Serial Killer. Can you let's just start out with the basics. Tell us about your game.
Oh yeah. So serial killer. This game. I worked so hard on the research because they always say make something that you want. Let's say, like with food, make something that you want to eat. So with this game, I definitely made something that I want to play because ever since I was a kid, I was already so obsessed with the macabre, like horror stuff. I grew up with horror comics. That's actually how I learned how to read. So with this game, if I can tell you a little about it, it's more like apples to apples, but murder. So you you pair
Apples to
death.
apples, but murder. I love it.
Yeah. You so you so you pair the deaths to the victims, and the victims of this game are the Karens of the world, like the people who you don't even have to meet, but are super inconsiderate or entitled or rude, that they would just affect your day. Like for example, the person who doesn't flush the toilet, or
Mm.
the person
Yeah, we're
who
straight to the gulag with
yeah,
him.
right. Or the person who doesn't double parks or doesn't use their turn signals. So those people are definitely super annoying. So I know a lot of people can relate, because I myself, like when those things happen to me, like I just want to unalive people. I'm not sure it's normal, but it's probably not. But I heard a lot of people say that they experience the same thing. And so the deaths are super cool because they're actually the deaths that we all know from history, movies, games, books, uh, definitely pop culture. So,
What is your Google history like?
oh, I was surprised that they didn't send the FBI guys to my house yet,
Yeah, I was going to say, so you
because
probably have a personal FBI agent just looking over your stuff.
for
Like,
reals.
yeah,
And they
Operation
even
Search
Malacat.
I even I tried like using Chat GPT to ask like what are
Uh-huh.
some
Oh yeah.
really cool deaths, whatever. Chat GPT literally just rejected me, like, oh, we don't do that here, like they had this message like
Yep.
we we promote positivity and this and that. I'm like, oh, I'm not welcome on this site.
Oh, I feel you, brother. I had a really hard time getting
Um,
ChatGPT to give me a script to hypnotize Joel into not eating eagles.
oh.
Well, I wish I knew that episode off the top of my head. I want to say episode 5 or 6. Go listen to the something random there. Yeah, it's one of the best. All right. Well, so Jack, you made this game where so you pair up a victim, and we should maybe say not so much a victim as somebody who really just maybe deserves to die, with a method of killing. And much like apples to apples, everybody I guess has to choose, or one person has to choose what they think is the most appropriate method of death for the person.
Yeah, or whichever is the most horrifying death, or we all have different perspectives on how somebody dies. So some people like it light, some people like it really dark. So
Mm.
a lot
Yeah.
of people definitely enjoy the game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure there's the people who really enjoy the like long agonizings, and the other people are like, let's just get this over with quick.
The nice thing about this game, it's one of those things where it's a good thing that, our thoughts are private, right? I think everyone would be mortified if they knew what everyone else was thinking around them. I mean, not just like the dark, macabre thoughts, but I'm sure there's all kinds of bizarre things running through each other's heads that would be
Hmm.
like, oh, okay. But at least we'd all know we're freaks, right? So that's good.
Yeah, you'll be surprised, because when I presented this game to people that I never expected to like it,
Hmm.
they have stuff to say.
Yeah.
Like
What,
they
like what?
have, like,
Like, what are those
so
conversations like?
I know it's so awkward because, well, not so awkward, but sometimes it gets awkward because people open up and they tell you, life experiences, and sometimes you're not ready for it. But I that actually inspired me to make more experience based victims, like,
Hmm.
more people who are rude, or more people who cause trauma to other people, because I feel like more than, making it more than just a game, it could be a conversation, like the conversations that you have with your friends and family, especially the ones that surprise you, like, oh wow, like they have this dark side to them. I feel like all of those, they stem from trauma, or
Mm.
stuff that they experienced. And um, i I personally believe that you should talk to your friends and family about all the things that you just bottle up inside, because that's the healthy way to go, based on experience. Like I know that talking to other people about your thoughts is very important.
What
Well,
kind
that
of
reminds
impact has
me.
has making this game had on your mental health in general? I mean, you mentioned having to do a lot of research into some dark subject matters. I mean, has this weighed pretty heavily on you? What has been the impact
uh
psychologically?
well, the game is basically my lemonade to the lemons that were thrown at me in my life. But when
Mhm.
I got to the expansions, especially the gore expansion, because that one's based on real murders and in
Oh.
history.
Ooh,
So I had to read like the serial killer encyclopedia and all the things that they did, and there are like some excerpts of the conversations that they had with the detectives, and
Mhm.
you just by the end of the day, like I feel nauseous. Not even, yeah, doing the research, because I'm like this. At some point, I was even thinking like this game is getting really, really, really dark, because yes, I'm getting material from uh the encyclopedias and tapes and videos from real serial killer interviews, but at the same time, like you just wonder, like there are people that do unspeakable things and they don't even blink an eye. So yeah, it did weigh heavy on me when it came to
Mhm.
that stuff. So I had to make sure that I balance it with lighter themes. So
Mhm.
when I got the chance, I did make a sex expansion, or the truth or drink expansion is, I think, it's more fun. And even on the torture deck, where you talk about um, different 100 ways to torture somebody, I made sure that it balances the macabre, or the really gory stuff, with something that you can still laugh about.
for the
Because
torture expansion, do any of the cards say convince them to have children?
you know what, that would be a good one. That would
I
be
was
a
at a
Oh
good
work
man.
work dinner the other night, and everyone was just like trying to be like, "Yeah, they don't tell you the truth of having kids. Like you're never gonna sleep again." I I definitely like I definitely feel like there's some elements of torture with parenthood. But anyway, I digress. Go ahead.
It's the same could be said for childhood as well. No, that does remind me, like the research that you're talking about. It's like I'm a listener of, well, at least I have been a listener of like hardcore history. I listened to last podcast on the left, and there are definitely times where those shows will give you, unexpectedly turn your stomach. I remember the specific episode of
Mhm.
Hardcore History where they did executions throughout the ages.
Paintertainment.
Like execution as entertainment, basically.
Yeah.
Oh,
I thought it was called like Paintertainment. It was one of his one shot episodes. Very good. But anyway,
Very
go
good.
ahead, Joel.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
but I was just curious, like, is that what did you use any of those as research tools, like any like podcasts or videos on YouTube, documentaries, things like that? Was there like you mentioned the serial killer encyclopedia, but was there other sources that you went to?
yeah, definitely. I did. Well, even before starting, to create this game, I've already been watching a lot of crime documentaries. So
Hmm.
a lot of stuff really stay in your mind. Like you can't forget about it. So all I had to do was just access it and write it down on paper. But yeah, watching all those things, which our this generation is very obsessed about. I don't
Hmm.
understand why people um I don't understand why they can watch those, like like people listen to it every night and watch it every day. I wonder what effects it does, or maybe it's actually because when people relate to it, it's actually soothing to them, almost kind of like
Hmm.
a closure to personal
Hmm.
experiences. I wonder.
Well, there's definitely,
Yeah.
they talk about availability bias, like especially with terrorism, where people think terrorism is more prevalent than it is because it gets reported on. So I think with just the sheer amount of true crime stuff and documentaries that we have, I think people think serial killers are maybe a lot more common. Like, I don't know what the odds of actually being murdered are, and then like what the odds of being murdered by a serial killer are, but I'm sure that
Right.
it's very rare. But you couldn't tell if you watched the programming on TV. It feels like 50% of
Right.
TV is murder documentaries, and the other 50% is pharmaceutical commercials.
Well, if I remember correctly, there are only about 1,500 something recorded cases of serial killers from, I think this was from the 1920s up to today.
Oh,
So they're
really?
not, yeah, so there's not a lot of them. That's why it's so fascinating, I guess, to a lot of people because the stories are just crazy and it doesn't it's not normalized yet. However, even if it's so prevalent in the media, it's not something that we hear every day. That some like
I,
unlike like school shootings, for example. Like we
mm-hmm.
just hear it every day, so then we're not so involved anymore. And
Hmm.
so yeah,
At the risk of sounding, making you sound really unpopular here, do you have a favorite serial killer?
um I would say not be he's not my favorite, but my favorite story. So I definitely I don't condone, people hurting other people, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Um
same,
but
same.
Yeah, yeah. I think we should all go on record. We do not condone serial killing in reality. Like, please,
like
if you feel like killing another person and you're actually making plans to make it happen, please seek help.
yeah. Yeah,
That's
killing
like first
people
and
is
foremost.
bad.
Killing people is bad. Can we all agree on that,
Yeah.
folks? Can we all give an applause for
Yes.
Yeah.
that one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so his story is my favorite only because I think it's the most store the story that most shed the light on uh, unfair treatment when it comes to minority victims,
Mm-hmm.
because with Jeffrey Dahmer's story, most of his victims were minorities, and it just shed a light on how during that time, his era, that the police allowed it to happen. The
Mm-hmm.
neighbors allowed it to happen, or because people think that, oh, they live in that kind of neighborhood anyway, so it's bound to happen, kind of thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's, but if you think about it, like these are people. No
Yeah.
matter if you didn't care about these groups of people, like these are still people, and that's why I like that story, because uh, the world covered it, and they talked about how um almost a lot of people even venerated him, almost kind of like a celebrity. But uh the world should really have talked about during that time was how minorities were being ignored
Yeah.
when they're being victimized. So yeah, that's why I like his story, not him, but his story.
It
That's a very
reminds
good
me
point. And
of. Yeah, go ahead, Joel.
just for context, Jeffrey Dahmer specifically targeted like gay men, like young gay men in I forgot what city he was in.
In
Was it in somewhere
Milwaukee.
Milwaukee? That's
And
correct. And
yeah.
he targeted young gay men. And there's a classic anecdote or story about how one of his victims was getting away, and Dahmer, was going, basically was trying to drag the victim back into the house, and the cops were, two, I think, young black women were saying, "Hey, he's doing something nefarious." And the cops who were there were like, "No, he's just, it's just a lover's quarrel between these two gay men. Just let them go," and ignored the black women. It was like, it's almost like, so many layers of discrimination and just these white cops not paying attention to the scene as it was and just wanting to hand wave away the situation because they just were uncomfortable, probably uncomfortable, or didn't really care about young gay men.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, that boy was 14 and he was I think Cambodian.
Wow, that
And
makes it so much worse. The cops are
yeah,
just like, yeah, it's a lover's quarrel between a 14-year-old boy.
right.
Like, what the hell?
So
Like,
they
seriously.
believe that him that, oh, he just looks young, but he's I don't know what he said about his age, but yeah.
Yeah.
So
This reminds me of, I don't know if you guys have seen Mindhunter, but like they talk a lot about the Atlanta missing children. I think it's in season 2. But there were like 30 young African American children that went missing over a 2-year span in the late 70s, early 80s, and it was basically largely ignored because it was all of black community. And yeah, I mean, obviously, that's a huge part of our history is minority groups being overlooked. So yeah, I think it's really a cool way to look at such a thing horrible like Jeffrey Dahmer, and kind of use it as an opportunity to talk about something that's more broadly wrong with our society.
yeah,
Yeah,
for
I
reals.
think serial killers at their best definitely offer that. I mean, usually any of these topics of, terror kind of like shed a light on like, who we put our trust into and how do they get away with it? It's usually like a hindsight's 2020 situation where it's like, how do we not see this coming? But often you do hear those stories about, oh, he could have never done this. He was so nice.
Definitely.
Maybe we should open the floor on this one. Danny, do you have a particular favorite serial killer?
Yeah, I mean, I am quite partial to Jack the Ripper.
Okay.
He's
Classic.
probably the only one that I've
Classic.
actually thought of. Yeah. Is that who you were named after, Jack?
Probably. Well, you know what? I'm gonna ask my dad because he named me.
Jack
I
the
think just
Ripper.
because of the mystery and the history, and just looms large. There's some pretty interesting things there.
Very,
And he was
for
he was
not
never
to,
caught,
like,
right?
He was never
correct.
caught. No,
Yeah.
we don't know who it was.
And
There's some
still,
interesting
like,
theories, though.
yeah, I was just going to say that it's like something that people still speculate on. There's still people studying the case files and coming up with their best guesses, and I mean, it's as cold as a case can get. That like there's no, like, anybody who it could have been died, what, like almost 100 years ago at this point, it would have been dead.
Yeah, probably.
So
I used to know this stuff inside and out, but I think there was a story about the first serial killer in America, quote unquote, first serial killer in America. And I might be making all this up, but I think that they were active in Austin, Texas. And there was some like speculation, and like they showed, because of when it happened and some records, like that there was like some potential that it could have been Jack the Ripper, which
Oh,
would have been a
really?
very interesting turn of events. I used to know because I was like, oh, I got to write this movie, but now it's all gone because it's been 15
yeah,
years. But
it was in the days before good branding by the media. They were still figuring it out. I want to say that Austin Killer was the Servant Girl Annihilator, if I remember
yes,
correctly.
that's right. The Servant Girl Annihilator in 1885 in Austin. Yeah, I completely forgot about that. Thank you, Joel. But I had read something about there being one suspect that they had done like the tracking of, and that person was in London contemporaneous with the Jack the Ripper killings. So I don't know. I think that could be, that would be insane if those were the same people, but those were brutal,
Yeah.
brutal murders.
Did
Anyway,
they have
very
like
much.
commonalities? That's why they thought that it was Jack the Ripper.
I think just because they were just so brutal. I'd have to go through and look at them, but
Victim profile, I think, was also taken into consideration. But this is
Yeah.
definitely this is definitely in the realm of speculation, like deep speculation. And but I think it would make for a good, if you wanted to adapt it into a movie like Danny was talking about. Like, I think we had talked about that, quite a few years ago. Like, hey, how could we turn this into a really good movie? and kind of a Western with serial killer elements, or a Frontiers movie with serial killer stuff going on. I mean, I think there's potential for it to be a Zodiac-esque story, if you really take the historical, approach to it.
I think it could absolutely be very good. But back to the topic at hand, what actually inspired you to even make Serial Killer to begin with, Jack? Like, how did you end up making this game?
It's so funny because I think there's a lot of versions in my head, but I think the one that comes, clear right away is Florida Drivers. Because we lived in Florida for a little bit. That's where we moved from when we moved here in Houston. But every time we go out, like literally, even not even on the highway, it's such a traumatic experience to me. As
What part of Florida were you driving in?
Fort Lauderdale, Miami area.
Oh, it's so bad. It's so bad.
That's wild. That means a lot coming from Danny, because like I'm on the phone with Danny, quite a few hours a day, most days, and he's driving some of the time. And boy, he would have you believe that Houston drivers are something like the Houston roads are something out of Mad Max. Just listening to him talk about how people are driving, and to think that there's something worse out there scares the hell out of me.
Everybody who knows me well is just like, oh, that's because Danny's a terrible driver.
No,
I wasn't going to say anything.
So in Florida, it's just really bad. Like when we came to Texas, I was actually able to relax now.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but so when they don't use the turn signals in Florida. If
Punishable crime for sure.
And if they use it, it's the wrong one. Like what? Like where?
That's totally worse.
These people are driving like they're in a spy movie.
Then tell me you're going the. Yeah. They're trying to lose the person who's they've got a tail.
It's almost kind of like, are you purposely trying to get us in an accident? Like it's crazy out there. So I actually came up with the concept of the game while we were on the way to a Costco run. And I remember it was New Year's Day, actually. And I told my partner, like, hey, I think I just came up with a game in my head. And then he asked me about it, and then he said, yo, you have to write it out. So that's how it started. I started just based on experiences, writing deaths and victims, and then I'm like, oh, I need more. So that's when you go into a rabbit hole of like just murders and
I love that you have a partner who was like ready to support you and tell you got to do this. This is a good idea. That's always a great sign for a great companionship.
Yeah, I always tell people, because when they ask me like, oh, so did he help you write it or help you create it? I'm like, no, but he's been a big part of it, because as a creator, you go through a roller coaster of emotions, and at times you question, like I said, even worth it. Like, I'm not sure if this is, people are even gonna like it. And he was always there telling me like, no, I know, just make it, and make it for yourself, and then worry about other people later. And that's how I was able to finish this project, actually.
Such great advice.
Yeah.
I mean, anytime you endeavor to do something creative, if you do it long enough, you're gonna start second guessing yourself, and it's such a huge benefit to have someone who's in the trenches alongside you that can lift you up when you fall down, and you can lift up when they fall down. So I mean, there's really very little better than having a strong creative partnership when you're trying to tackle something as big as designing a game.
Yeah, I'm actually a little jealous of you guys because there's two of you, like you share the load. But with me, yes, because it's probably like a double-edged sword, because I'm doing all the creative parts alone, so it's harder on me. But it probably actually helped that he's not part of it. So when I need somebody who's objective about something, like even just for like how does this card look like, or do the lines, like when you're doing so much computer work, sometimes like your vision is, it really affects
Mm.
it. So even if just asking like, is it center or no, like even just stuff like that,
Yeah.
it's very helpful.
Yeah. I mean, that's you got to have those special people in your life who are outside of the process that you can go and be like, am I crazy? Does this look good? For me, that's my
Mm,
brothers. I often will send them a group text and be like, "Hey, what do you think of
mm,
this?" And usually if they just say, "Oh, it looks good," like they're usually pretty honest, and they've given me some,
mm,
some good, I don't want to use the word ammunition, but they've given me some good
mm.
like feedback in order to help formulate my thoughts better or give me words to formulate my thoughts.
Yeah.
Danny,
Yeah.
do you have anybody that you like go to? Because like, who isn't me?
Who is it? Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I mean, I think, when it depends on what it is. I think
Mm-hmm.
like if it's art and I feel like I don't understand what exactly is off about it, oftentimes I'll go to our graphic designer LD or one of our other artists, and say, hey, can you look at this and tell me, am I crazy or is there something off about this? And
Uh-huh.
usually they're able to help better articulate it. As I think Joel was saying, is they,
Mm.
they help you sort through your thoughts, verbalize them, so that then you can make actionable feedback to really progress things. Because it's such a terrible feeling when you feel like something's off, but you don't know how to verbalize it, because then
Right,
you feel
right.
stuck. Like how do I fix
Yeah.
this? I can't even say what's wrong with it.
I can totally relate to that because sometimes, you create like, let's say, an art for a card, and I can't figure out why I don't like it. Why don't I
Mm-hmm.
like this? Like, why am I not happy with this? But then when you bring it to other people, they definitely can tell you because they have an outside perspective. And yeah, it's very helpful. So to anybody who's creating something, make sure you have somebody objective that can give you like just outside advice from what you're doing. It's very
Yeah.
good to have it.
On the
Yeah.
topic of art,
Mm.
because you have an amazing table presence with the game. Where does it? Is that graphic design that you hired out? Is that something that you did? What's the story behind the actual game design? Because it's beautiful.
Oh, thank you. I take that as a big compliment, man. No, it's all me. So
Really?
yeah, it's all me, from the writing to the design of the cards and the design of the box. It's just me. Uh, because I think we talked about it last night. When you wanna do when you want something done right, you gotta do it yourself. Yeah, I think Joel clarified it for me. Yeah, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I have a little bit of Photoshop and Illustrator knowledge, so it came in handy. But to be honest, I haven't been on Photoshop for over a decade. So this definitely I had to brush up on my skills. But it was a fun process.
I would not have guessed
Um,
that. That
mm,
that. I mean, I could believe that you did it with if you told me, but I wouldn't have believed that you had to brush up on your skills. Because I mean, just at a glance, I mean, it just jumps out as being super well done.
oh, thank you.
Yeah. So
Nice.
that's yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
that's a big compliment, man. Oh.
I think Joel's got some roommates jumping in on the podcast here. He seems like he's having to talk to someone off camera.
Oh. No, that's fine.
No, he's good. We're definitely going to keep this in. I love to keep in the moments where Joel
Yeah.
goes a little bit off.
Sorry, yeah. For the folks at home, I'm now recording from my living room. So my roommate just came out. I had to have a little touch base on something really fast. But it's but hey, look at the space that I have now and everything set up. But yeah,
Yeah.
so I will say, and I can't wait to get a chance to touch and look at your game completely on the table. I've seen the trailer that you released for it, but yeah, I just want to take a look at those design elements, and the fact that you designed everything yourself is that blows our mind, because at a certain point we were like, this is beyond our skill level, and we had to bring in the ringer from the outside.
Yeah, but that's
Oh
a
yeah.
good thing that, because to me, I what I'm trying to say is it's a good thing that you ask for help, because sometimes we do need help. But with me, I had to question myself, like, can I actually do this, or I'm just overestimating my skills? Like, or I'm just, being super confident and ambitious. Like sometimes, I mean, I know it helps to be delusional when you're creating something, but
It does,
Mm,
yeah.
the delusion, man, like you don't know when it's gonna end or when it started. So, but
I
yeah,
would
thank you
say,
so much. I really appreciate it.
Oh
yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
you should follow your delusion until you're far enough into the process that you can't back out. That's where delusion gets you.
I mean, that's how you can get stuff done, for real.
Hmm.
Like when you're too into deep and spend so much time and money, and there's no other choice but to finish it. So that could be a good motivator.
Yeah.
One thing I thought also was cool about the design. This is actually about the game design, not
Mm,
the aesthetic design. But I was watching a video. I think Games with Gabe did.
I love
Uh,
Gabe.
yeah, he's so cool. I've
Mm,
we haven't actually talked to Gabe, but I like his content a lot, and he's close with a couple of our mutuals, Kervin and Ben,
mm.
and I
I
enjoy
love
watching him
Kerbin too,
dance.
and Ben.
Yeah, they're great. They're great.
I
It's hard to beat them.
I actually
Speaking
met.
of
Oh, I'm
people
so
you want to
sorry.
kill,
Yeah.
Xfinity is calling me. Is Xfinity on any of those cards?
Oh,
Because
you
I
know what? We
definitely.
can
You,
we can write it
you
down
would
and add a.
no
Um,
jury
you know,
in the world would convict you for putting Xfinity on a card.
no, you know what? I just I just realized that we should definitely add the people who call for the insurance people, like
Oh yeah.
extended warranty.
Oh, 100%.
How come I
And
never thought about that? Oh my God, that was
the
a missed
cable companies should
opportunity.
definitely be on there.
Hmm. Your cell phone provider, most likely, very often.
What I wanted to ask was, so it's a party game. One of the things that I think is really cool, and I saw highlighted in that video from Gabe, is a lot of party games like Apples to Apples or Cards Against Humanity. It's very much, you put a card down, someone chooses what makes the most sense, but there's not a lot of other player interaction.
Mhm.
And I saw that you had what I think they're called demon cards. Is that right?
Yes, yes. So
And can you tell us about that? I thought that was so cool.
yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah. So I put those elements on there, the demon cards, because I wanted it to be more than just pairing deaths to victims. I want a lot, players to actually try to sabotage each other too, because when I feel like when you there's the emotions running high on the game, that's when you actually have the most important conversations that you probably wouldn't have if you weren't playing serial killer. So yeah, so I have a this is like a skip card, like skip one turn and dismembered.
Okay, dismember
So
equals skip, vice
mhm.
versa.
So let's say if you got dismembered by one of the players in the game, so you gotta sit it out and you skip one turn. Some of them are this one, the necrophile card. I had to ask a lot of people, is this too much?
In terms of game balance or in terms
Right.
of concept?
Wait, is that in the sex expansion or is that in the base game?
No, this is in the base game. Like
Oh,
you get all
wow.
these demon cards in the base game, and
You have to drive to a cemetery if someone plays it, or how does it work?
so so this one is you actually had to randomly throw away two of your cards and exchange it with two of the cards from the dead pile.
Oh,
So that's
interesting.
why it's the necrophile card, because
I
you
like
like
that.
dead dead things.
I like that. That's
Yeah.
clever. That's
Yeah.
the kind of stuff Joel and I are always trying to do when we're designing X Seekers. Is how do we pair flavor and mechanics? Because I love it when you do something in a game and then it's called something that kind of feels evocative. And so yeah, I definitely could see how that necrophile thing gives you a little taste of necrophilia. I don't really.
So, yeah, so I had to ask a lot of people, like, is this okay? Like, is this too much? And they were like, no, you're doing a serial killer. And they do that, a lot of serial killers are necrophiles. Well, yeah.
Hmm.
So it's definitely on theme. And I didn't want to hold back. I had to hold back a lot, but I didn't want to hold back so much that
What
it.
did you hold back exactly?
If you
No,
can
I
say it on the
did.
show. Fortunately, we're not monetized, so you can pretty much say anything. We don't have to worry about
Oh,
that. No sponsors yet.
no, wait, I had to hold back on certain themes like rape.
Yeah,
I
that would
didn't
make
want to
sense.
touch on those, or like uh, pedophilia. I didn't want to touch on those.
Okay,
Yeah.
touche. There are some things that would
Yeah.
probably.
No, so I had to hold back. Okay. um,
That's good judgment there.
Agreed, agreed.
and
There's
then
just even in a like there's certain things that just end the party, and those topics will definitely end a party.
yeah,
Yeah.
and even so, interestingly enough, when you send your game to a lot of people, I had feedback yesterday of cards that I have probably want to take out because they said it's too close to home. They know people that experience
Mm,
exactly the same things or died of exactly the same things.
mm.
Okay.
And to me, um, I think it's touching on the core of what serial killer really is. And I explained to them. I said, well, that's actually the point of the game is for you to be able to talk about those things that you don't talk about because there's no right time or the right setting for it. And serial killer is kind of like a push so that you can talk about it and maybe have some clarity or closure to what happened. And that's just a hope for me. I hope they don't take it the wrong way. But
Have you had
that's
any
yeah.
specific super meaningful conversations that you could, obviously don't tell us who it was, but like,
Mm.
any interesting conversations that were sparked from playing with you?
Um, I get a lot of reactions, especially the household theme ones where like the person that doesn't refill the toilet paper, like in your house, stuff like that, or the person who returns empty cartons or bottles on the fridge after they consume
Yeah.
the milk or
I see Joel shaking his
yeah.
head over there. He's, you're
I will never.
re-traumatizing him.
I'll never
Yeah,
neither
so
confirm nor deny I've gone through those experiences. But what I will say is that I've definitely looked at certain like a carton of milk and thought, how much of this can I take without the person noting. Those days are behind me, though, I swear. But for me, and I'm sure you get a lot of this through work, a lot of inspiration through work. But for me, yeah, it's definitely like I work at a place where everything comes in a box, and like as you use the thing, take stuff out of it. You have to eventually reach that point where it's like, okay, there's no reason for the box. Let's take the rest of the stuff out of the box and put it aside and break down the box. And it drives me up the wall when I go to pull something and there's only one left. And it's like the last
right.
person could have taken this one thing out and then broken down the box. Now it's on me to do that. Or worse, they took everything out of the box and left the empty box there for the next person to have to deal with.
That's the worst. Well,
Yeah,
I
that is the
experience
worst.
it all the time here in my own household. So we buy uh
Ooh, now
White
we're getting into
Claws or
it.
Trulies, like those
Uh-huh.
seltzers, because I like to try
Yeah.
different seltzers and stuff. And we always
Hmm.
put the whole box in the fridge. And of course, like there's only one left, but the whole box is still in there. So yeah, that's my life.
Yeah. Take just Hey, folks at home. If there's one or two of anything left in a box, just take it out and then break the box down. You're going to earn so many points, or at the very least, you're going to have so many of points on your side saved by your partner, your roommate, not like reaching in
Mm-hmm.
and finding that there was just the one of the thing left or what have you.
And you might find that it saves your life because, as this game shows us, there are people who will kill you for it.
Yes.
Probably in a brutal way.
I think people enjoy throwing out the most brutal cards too. I think it brings the fun in it because really like you would I mean I would hang them publicly if I had that this public hanging.
You know, I wouldn't
That
be
seems
surprised if
proportionate.
that. See, wouldn't be surprised if those get back on the table at some point. I don't know if we're done with the public hanging yet. I think we've just taken a long sabbatical from it.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
too
Public
soon, too
execution
soon.
might be.
Yeah. Though I mean, I it's like I work in customer service, and for the most part, I've been in a really good situation at where I work. But I do know that there's a big, there's those big things that the times you want to kill your customers, but even worse yet, the times you really want to kill your coworkers. Jack, were you
You've
inspired
never
by
had a
your job?
coworker that you want to kill, have you,
Oh
Joel?
no, I think just in the general, like in a flight attendant work group in general, like all around the world, the person who sleeps on the job is the most hated flight attendant.
Oh, does that
Yeah.
happen a lot?
Oh, yes. Because especially when you know them personally or you've had a connection, you've known each other for years, even just excuse me, even just being work friends and stuff. I feel like a lot of people, these people, they feel that they can get away with it because
Uh-huh.
you know them. And I'm like, but like when you tell them like, hey, you need to be awake, like, oh, I'm just so tired and this and that. I'm like, but I'm tired too. Like, we're paid the same. If I'm awake, you should be awake, you know?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And this usually
Maybe
happens
negotiate with
on,
them to sleep in shifts or something. Maybe that.
no, we can't even do that. I don't think
Okay.
any airline allows flight attendants to sleep while they're on duty.
Okay.
Well, longer flights,
That's fair.
yeah, longer flights, they have like nap areas where they switch crews, but um domestic flights, you're not allowed to do it. But yeah, I because to me this happens usually when it's a late night flight or like a red eye, and it's understandable. Yeah, all of us are gonna be sleepy, but you're paid to be awake because that's exactly what our job is. So,
Now that
mm,
we're on the topic of
mm,
airlines, because this is, I think people have a fascination with airlines and aviation, like and
they
stories. Is
do.
there anything crazy that's ever happened on a flight that you can tell us about?
Um, I I don't want to scare people, but I would definitely have the craziest experience. And this would like every time somebody asks me what's the craziest, this definitely comes to mind first because it is super crazy. So on my first year, being a flight attendant, I was flying lead. So like it's almost kind of like a team lead on a flight. It was LaGuardia. It's no, somewhere to New York, LaGuardia.
Hmm.
And so when the we were about to land and the wheels came down, and then I received a call from the captain. And during those times, you're not allowed to talk to each other anymore. It's like they call it a sterile uh, cockpit because you can't communicate with them. So they have to focus on landing the plane.
Hmm.
And so when you get a call from them, that's like a very, very, very bad sign. Because like, why are you calling me, talking to me when you're landing the plane?
We're supposed to
Um,
be landing.
right. So the captain was super calm about it. He said like, oh hey, we have a brake light turned on, so apparently we don't have brakes. So we're gonna try to fix it on our end, see what we can do, but just mentally prepare for an evacuation. Like that's how they, because we're required to say it like in super simple terms and no hint of panic, whatever.
Hmm.
So I had to tell my other flight attendant, like my other flight attendants, oh, this is what's happening, but you can't. let the passengers sense that something is happening because
Yeah.
you don't want panic in the cabin, you know?
Oh yeah.
Um, so I was thinking, oh, of course, this is going to be the day that I'm going to be tested if I know how to do my job. And
The
I
day comes
I
for us all.
knew,
Yeah.
right, and I knew I'm like, well, we're landing in LaGuardia. If we don't have brakes, then we're definitely gonna fall in the water, because the LaGuardia airport, the runway is very very short. I had to
Hmm.
adjust my chair. Um, so yeah, so they what happened was they reset the plane while we're up. You know, they took the wheels back up. They reset the plane, and we were just gliding for about 10 minutes. So just imagine like all the sounds that you hear normally when you're inside the moving vehicle, gone. Like
Uh-huh.
it's just silence, and it still gives me goosebumps to this day. But some passengers were asking like, "What's going on?" And we were like, "Oh, we're just turning around because there's traffic. I mean, there's always traffic in LaGuardia." And
Hmm.
And it was just
so,
silent, and you guys were just gliding through the
yeah,
air.
yeah, we were just gliding,
And but
and
you know, like while this is going on, this could go real bad
oh yeah,
at any moment,
oh yeah, like
and you have to
my
act normal.
yeah,
Sounds so bad.
it's yeah. So we have to do that a lot every day anyway, but this one's completely different. And my assistant flight attendant up front, she was super senior, and I still remember her name to this day. I mean, of course, I'm not gonna mention it, but it's because of that, because we shared this experience. And when I told her, her face completely changed, like white. So I had to tell her, no, 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 no. We have to talk and pretend that we're having a conversation, but we're gonna go through our
Hmm.
checklist. But we can't
Hmm.
let the
Wow.
yeah we can't let the passengers know yet because the
Yeah.
captain said just mentally prepare. And
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we're fine. We didn't fall in the water. They fixed the brakes, but when we landed, oh, there were so many fire trucks and ambulance in the LaGuardia airport.
Oh
And
my God.
yeah,
I'm assuming
and
the
the worst,
passengers at that point knew something was wrong.
yeah, but we can't say because
Hmm.
in our work rules, we can't talk to the media when something happens. We can't talk to the passengers unless like the captain says so. So the
Hmm.
captain will talk to them, but we're not allowed to.
Yeah.
And so we landed, and they checked everything, and the maintenance came on, and everything was fine for some reason. So the airport manager came up to the plane, and they were like, "Oh, are you guys okay?" Like, I'm like, "Well, no, we're not okay. Like, we need a break. Like, we, like, who's gonna be okay after that?" And you know what they said? Like, "Oh, well, they checked everything, and everything's fine. So we're actually allowed to go on. So I can only give you 5 minutes until we board." So we were,
Wow.
I know. So we boarded again. Um, and just imagine the how much we had to pretend that everything was okay when those people
Hmm.
boarded the plane. So yeah, that was my crazy experience.
My goodness. I can't imagine. I mean, most of the time, we're in our day to day work, and there's not like the possibility of a mass fatality event. Just like, oh, yeah, things are going to go wrong today at work. Oh, 200
Hmm.
people might die. Like the intense pressure around that.
Yeah,
Hmm.
definitely something you wouldn't forget.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
It's
I'm gonna
amazing how
call
the.
out. Oh, go ahead, Joel.
I was just going to say it's amazing how the brain goes into like hyper aware mode and like all of a sudden you're no longer writing, you're like writing permanent memories. Like you remember everything so crystal clear once like that heightened reality happens.
Yeah, and you know
100.
what's funny? Like I wasn't even scared that I was gonna die. Like my mind
Uh-huh.
just went through the checklists. Like,
That's
oh, I
that
need my
that's why the
survival
training's
kit
there, right?
exactly where it's supposed to be, and my wraps are
Hmm.
right there, and these people are gonna help me out. Like
That's good
these
training.
yeah, but it's so weird like that. Like I feel like we've been brainwashed to really just be safety, 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 and all the fear that you feel normally if you're a normal person, like it just disappears. Like fight or flight for us, it's always fight.
It's always flight.
Yeah, it's a fight or flight reaction. With us flight attendants, it's always fight. There's no flight.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
no flight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess
Well, that's
that's
why
the
you.
pilot's job.
yeah, yeah.
So, Jack, you went the Kickstarter route with Serial Killer, correct?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. So, tell us a little bit about that experience of getting ready for and running a campaign for Kickstarter.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Um, well, I wasn't. I never expected in a million years that this is going to be a business. Like I created the game because I wanted to have something cool for our friends to come over, and um, when my partner's parents visited, we did play it, and they were the ones to tell me that I should sell it.
Really?
But yeah,
So
you
wait, you
know,
played this with your partner's parents?
yeah, they were actually the first people to play the game.
What was their reaction? And were there any
Um,
cards with in-laws as the victims?
no, oh, you know what? I don't have in-laws as victims. Man, we could make an expansion out of this podcast.
Just
But
the family annihilator expansion, and you just have all the tropes like the drunk uncle, the in-laws, the overbearing brother or something like that. You could have a lot
oh,
of victims in the
yeah,
family expansion, and
The
that would be a
Collins.
great idea.
family annihilators are on the
um,
rise. They're hot right now. It's like been like the last two or three last podcasts on the lefts have been like family annihilators.
Oh my God.
well, I'll definitely write that.
So
um,
anyway, you were playing with your in-laws and or
yeah,
your partner's parents.
yeah, and then my friend who's translating the game for our Spanish version was there too. He was there throughout the whole process, and so I wasn't expecting it. Like I didn't know that people were actually gonna like it because it's very, very, very dark. But my partner's parents, they were the ones who encouraged me because they enjoyed it so much. I didn't even win my game. I can't remember who won that game. But yeah, so that's how Kickstarter came about because obviously, we don't
Hmm.
always have money lying around for a project like this. And so I created the Kickstarter campaign again all by myself, which is crazy. Like, well, looking back, I don't even know how I did it. But um
I have a question
yeah.
for you. So from the point you decided that you should have a Kickstarter to the point that you actually launched your campaign, how much time was that?
Mm. I think oh wait, January. Oh, it would be like 3 months. Three
Oh
Wow.
wow.
months. Yeah, 3 months. Because I started writing in January, and then my campaign launched April 1st.
Oh,
Um, yeah,
did you
so
have
the
any issues with
pressure
that?
I
April
did.
Fool's Day.
I did, man. Like, I don't ever launch anything on April 1st. Like, that's the biggest lesson that I got, first and foremost, because a lot of my friends didn't believe it, and because the idea itself is so crazy, like a serial killer card game, of course people are gonna be like, "Oh, haha, April Fools."
Mm,
So
yeah,
the
it's almost a
goal of
little too
getting
novel to
funded,
launch on that day.
right? Yeah, the goal of
Yeah.
getting funded on the first day, like, say goodbye.
Oh
I
man.
know,
Flush.
yeah.
Oh wow. Well, how long did it take you to reach your funding goals, and how far did you go past those? And
Oh, that too. So next time I create a Kickstarter campaign, I would definitely lean towards the smaller funding goal,
Okay.
because I did 20K right off the bat. So I have no
Uh huh.
knowledge. Like I didn't know. Like I thought, oh, this would be enough so that I can produce it, right? It will cover all
Hmm.
the expenses. But then
Yeah.
I actually didn't get funded until maybe 3 days, like the last 3 days of the
Oh.
campaign.
Oh
Oh
wow.
wow.
So yeah, so the entire time I already was so defeated, and I'm like, oh, I didn't get funded. That's fine. I guess, at least I tried. But then again, my partner was like, well, it's not over yet. There's still 3 days, and a bright idea. Why don't you swallow your pride and ask help from your friends? Because I never
Yeah.
that's my problem.
Hmm.
I don't ever ask for help. Like I'm very, very, very proud. And
Yeah.
so I asked my friends for help, like, hey, you guys, can you help me out? And they were like, well, we were just waiting for you to ask us for help, but you didn't. So we thought that you wanted to make it on your own. And I am just so blessed to have really, because I have a small group of friends, but these
Uh huh.
people are literally like my brothers. We're all like Filipino gay guys.
Hmm.
And we've been friends since I moved here in the United States. So since we were literally in our early 20s. So did they help out? They said like, oh, how much do you at that time, like I think I needed like I only was funded like half, like from 20, so I only have like 10,000 something. And in
Okay.
Kickstarter, you kind of need to just get close to the finish line so that more people will back you up. It's because it's like a
Hmm.
waiting game. Like I noticed, like when it will look like you're not gonna get funded, people are gonna start withdrawing their pledges, and or people who are waiting to pledge on your campaign, they won't pledge because it's a waste of time for them, because they think that you're not gonna get funded. So
Yeah,
Hmm.
the psychology is almost
yeah,
like, well, if it's already funded, it's like I'm buying something. If I'm not, then it's like I'm gambling. But wouldn't they just get their money back if it didn't you didn't meet your goal? Like why should they withdraw it? I mean, won't Kickstarter just give them their money back anyway?
I didn't even think the
um,
cards got charged until after, until
yeah,
the campaign was over,
Yeah.
and then they start charging cards. So it's like, yeah, why back out if it's not going to go?
yeah. And those are definitely the part of the roller coaster that I felt like I was being kicked when I was down, because well, I did ask somebody, and that's what they said. Like, well, you don't look like you're going to get funded, so I'm just gonna fund somebody else, which is
Such
to
a
me,
weird I
yeah, yeah. And those are the things that you kind of look out for, because Kickstarter acts like it's almost kind of like a hive. There's like a It's like when a lot of people come to your campaign, then it's just gonna rain. It's gonna pour.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
if not a lot of people are paying attention to it, then people are gonna forget about you. So that's exactly, so with the help of my friends, so I got funded. So then that started, a lot more people coming in last minute to pledge, and I got almost $26,000, and my goal was 20. So I
and you
was,
were at 10 3 days before the thing ended and you ended up with 16,000 in 3 days.
yeah. Isn't this
Wow,
so
that's
crazy?
crazy.
And then I have to thank one YouTuber, um, Monsters, that channel,
Mm.
Monsters. He plugged my game, and it's giving me goosebumps right now, because he plugged my game on his one of his videos, and that helped a lot. But the reason why, like, I didn't have a lot of people plug my game is I did send them out, but the it was late from the manufacturer. Like I launched an April 1st. I didn't get it until April 12th.
Oh my
And then
goodness.
I know, like, it's just a bunch of like mishaps one after the other, because when I got it, of course I mailed it right away, right on April 12th, right? But that was the day that the Fort Lauderdale airport was literally underwater. It got flooded. So none of the planes can leave or come in. So my prototypes didn't actually get sent out until like a week later
Oh my
to
gosh.
to the influencers. Yeah, so then they got it around like on the 22nd, and then they need time to like make videos, you know. So yeah.
Sounds like people don't sleep well during Kickstarters. I'm not looking forward to that because I already don't sleep well. So
I guess you'll get a brother and not sleeping well with me. I'll probably be up all night.
No, and you're right. Like joking aside, like you really won't sleep well.
what about after the
Yeah.
Kickstarter? I mean, what was it less stressful after the Kickstarter, or did the pressure ramp up? I've heard that post Kickstarter can be worse than pre Kickstarter or during Kickstarter.
I wouldn't say like it ramped up, but like, so when you conquered Kickstarter, and you know, in a lot of games, like you killed the boss, but
Yeah.
then there's actually a bigger boss after that. Like it's almost there.
Yeah.
You're back to square one basically, because you know, yeah, you already have sales from your Kickstarter, but after you fulfill all those pledges, what are you gonna do next? Like what's next? So then you face the entire world and be like, hey, I got funded in Kickstarter, and maybe you want to buy, I don't know. So yeah. So yeah, it's a completely different beast. It's what it is. And lucky for me, board game TikTok, you know, you guys are part of it. I found a very supportive community on TikTok, and totally wasn't expecting that at all. So I'm just very happy because of you guys, and Gabe and Kervin and Ben, uh, Kevin. Uh, you guys helped me out. Alex. Oh my God, Alex from board board games. She helped me out, and that's how I got to sell a lot more copies other than
The,
my
the
Kickstarter. Yeah.
the TikTok community is such an underrated part of the board game industry right now. I think Kervin talks about this a lot. People don't really understand the power of TikTok. We were on a call just a couple weeks ago where someone seems shocked that we would put time and energy into TikTok. And they're like, what do you even make TikToks about with respect to games? And it's like everything, literally everything.
I mean, this person. I mean, I think they're going to be woken up to it, and I think working with them is going to make them realize how important TikTok is, especially from a marketing standpoint. I would say I'm more of a YouTube person myself, but I will acknowledge, like, if you want to sell something right now, TikTok is the place to sell it. It is by and far the place where people go to like actually get, inspired to buy things,
Yeah.
like maybe what Instagram was a few years ago, and. And I'm sure this person's going to be woken up to that fact, hopefully through our effort.
No, and I made that mistake too, because on my Kickstarter campaign, I never paid attention to TikTok at all. Like I was focused on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, because I didn't know. Like I guess you just learn on the way. And um because a lot of people were telling me, like, after my, well, while I was doing Kickstarter and after, like, no, you gotta start your TikTok. Like you just hear it a lot, and then I'm like, okay, I guess I'll start. And then I was lucky that, I made friends right away, and that's now, like, it's a boost of confidence, when people have your back, and I'm gonna have you guys' back and everyone's back as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We appreciate that.
Yeah,
It
we
is a
definitely
tight knit
do.
community. When we
Yeah.
all do support each other and care about each other. And I think we'll do whatever we can to support each other, because it is a hard industry to break into, and anything you can do to help other people get ahead will ultimately help us all get ahead, because we'll be building out we're the next generation, right?
Yeah.
And we have to stick together.
Oh, and
And I
speaking
want
of saying thanks, can I say thank you to the creator of my hat?
Yeah, yeah. You
Yes.
want to call
Oh
them
yeah,
out? Go
please.
for it.
Yes.
Let's show that thing off.
It looks really nice.
So one of my Kickstarter backers, his name's Preston. He owns this business called Pak Rat Creations. So they actually make 3D printing stuff and laser cutting. So if anybody wants to, those little people on the meeples on your
Mm-hmm.
games, or like custom
Miniatures.
dice, or yeah, custom miniature
Oh.
stuff, like he got it. um this man, literally, Preston, thank you so much, you're a master craftsman. Like, I look at this hat, it's so crazy. Like, he said, he mentioned it one time, and he tried to like show me how it's gonna look like, and I'm like, oh no, I definitely need at least 10 of that. Yeah. Yeah, so he's
Well,
amazing. Thank you so much.
oh, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
we'd love to
And
talk to him too. We've got some backer rewards we got to figure out. So if he's up to cool things, he
Oh
should
yeah,
reach out for sure. We'd
uh,
be into that.
yeah, Pack Rat Creations. They 3D
Pack rat
print
creations.
and laser cut. So anything you want to make, they'll make it.
We'll add the links in the show description to Pack Rat Creation.
Yep.
So if anyone likes what they see, they want to get in touch with Preston, you'll be able to find that info in the show notes.
Yay.
definitely. Well, speaking of like places to find you, we should make sure you get your plugs out of the way, Jack. So tell everybody where they can find your game, where they can follow you on TikTok, and anything else you want them to check out after listening to this
Oh,
episode or right now during the episode. Go to these links he's about to tell you.
awesome. So on TikTok, you'll be able to find me at Serial Killer Card Game, or just at Serial Killer on TikTok. And then serialkillercardgame.com is my website, where you can get signed copies of the game. You can also get the coffin boxes, which are heavy AF. These are actually 4 pound boxes. Can you believe it?
Oof, I
I'm sure
can't.
shipping's expensive on that.
We
Yeah,
could
so
have
I
you on
signed.
just to talk about shipping. I think next time
Oh,
the do's and
yes.
don'ts.
Yeah,
Don't have a
definitely.
4 pound box.
Yeah. No, but so you know what? Sometimes it's worth it.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure. They look
Yeah.
really
Yeah. Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
So I signed all the
I've
copies on
been
the website. Yeah.
okay.
And
Oh, and
then,
that
but
website
I
is
read it's serialkillercardgame.com. And
good.
but I ran out of everything, like literally out of stock on anything
Well,
right now. But
should
my inventory just hit Amazon. So
okay.
if you want to buy the game, you can get these bad boys. I have no coffin boxes on there, but you can get these bad boys on Amazon, and it's on Amazon Prime as well. So it gets delivered to you like super fast. I checked the other day, like it gets delivered the next day. So
That's awesome.
Nice.
yeah, definitely
And
check it
and
out.
remind us again, what is the price point for the
Um,
basic game?
oh, that's right. So this is a $60 box, which includes about, what is it, 350 cards and a room for more expansions. And this one, the coffin box that you can only get on my website, is 150, but it has all the 4 expansions and the main game inside it, and you get a cool box.
You got to
Wow.
get it while
Um,
the getting is good. I mean, it
I
sounds like
mean,
supplies are going to run out here. You've already sold
yeah.
out of everything on your website. It's only a matter of time before Amazon sells out too. So if you're listening to this, you better get to Amazon and see if you can still get a copy.
And if you missed
yeah, I know
that,
the
Jack,
list.
when are you planning on getting more inventory in? Do you have a date set up? Are you ordering right now?
So my manufacturer told me it's gonna take a little bit for these guys to come out again. So I only made 100 of these, and
Mm-hmm.
totally unexpected that 100 people would want to pay for it. So, but these ones they're coming out soon. I'll say next week because I already have people who are pre-ordering.
Uh-huh.
But so to those of you who already pre-ordered, I have it. I just got a stock, and yeah, I'll sign them again. And I'll probably have a sale for the like when you ship something and it's inevitable that some of the stuff gets damaged. So I have
Mm.
damaged boxes, like they have like little dents and stuff like on the corner, and I didn't want to sell them full price because I think that's just unfair.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
Hmm.
I'm gonna sell them on the website for really cheap, so watch out for that. Because
That's pretty cool.
yeah.
That's a good way to get everything and a really sick box. And
Mm-hmm.
honestly, you're telling me there's a couple dents in a coffin. I'm saying that's flavor. I'm happy to accept
Yeah.
that. You know.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
no, definitely
you're
because
branding away from selling them for a premium.
no, because everything is still intact. Like on the
Uh-huh.
inside, they're all perfect. It's just the some of them gets dented, and the non-damaged ones is 150. So I know
Okay.
it's a little steep for a lot of people, but I'll sell it for a really good deal. So if you guys are wanting to get a copy, like watch out for it. It's coming out next week
All right.
as well. Yeah.
All right. Well, it sounds to me like by the time this episode launches, go to serialkillercardgame.com and see what you can get. You might be able to get a deal on one of these damaged boxes and honestly, flavorful boxes.
Yeah,
Or
they're
he could be
perfectly
easily
imperfect
restocked.
boxes.
All right, Jack, I'm really glad you're here because weekly I'm victimized by Danny's something random, and it's just good to have a brother here to go down with me. Danny, why don't you go ahead and get to something random?
I don't know what you're talking about, Joel. I never victimize you. This is always just a very respectful part of the show, and this week will be no exception. So, as people who have listened to the podcast probably have heard, or people who pay attention to different people on TikTok, sometimes we like to do a draft, and I think this is a good opportunity to do a draft with a special guest. And since we're at Halloween and this is ostensibly our spooky Halloween special, we should do
Ooh,
a top horror movies draft. Are you guys in for that?
Let's go.
I am.
Let's do
Yeah, I
it.
think so.
All right. So the way
So,
this is going to work, Jack, we're going to get 5 picks. We take turns. Joel, think you had some sort of idea about how maybe we could do a rotation that's fair. And
well, there's the idea of the
you know,
serpentine draft, which would be like, if I understand correctly, you would go first, I would go second. Well, we should probably give first pick to Jack.
guess
Jack would
first.
go,
Yeah.
yeah,
Be our
Jack
guest,
goes
Jack.
first. Jack goes first, I
Okay.
go second, or one of us goes second, and then the third person picks two, because then it goes back to the second person, and then it goes to the first person, they pick two, and then it goes to this, because we could either do that or we could just do a rotation around, like, Jack, me, you, Jack, me, you. But I think that this is like often the more exciting version of a draft when it's more than two people.
Hmm.
At least that's what I
All right.
understand.
Let's do it. Let's start with
Okay.
Jack, and then we can work our way to me. Joel, this can be a Joel sandwich.
Oh, okay. So
I got
I'll be in the middle. Cool. Well, that means I don't have to come up with two at a time. You guys are, better start thinking.
All right,
right,
Jack,
Jack.
lead us off. What do you got with your first
I,
round pick?
First round pick, I would definitely pick the Scream saga
Ooh.
because ever since I was a kid, like for some reason, like I just like in my mind or like when we're playing with other kids, like I always try to imagine if I was Ghostface or I was being chased by Ghostface, like will I survive?
Mm-hmm.
It's a good question to ask, and the answer for me was no. I would not survive. I think I would go
Yeah.
down pretty quick.
I was too busy losing my virginity to survive. Yeah. Yeah. No, so Jack, what do you think of the series where it's been taken? Because I know like it's kind of gotten a soft reboot. I've only seen like 1 and 2, and then I just saw the latest one. So I probably have missed out on a lot. I was like, who are these kids?
Right. No, the only reason I watched is it 4 and 5 or 5 and 6 is because Wednesday is in it. What's her name? Jenna
Ooh.
Rodriguez? Yeah.
Yeah, Jenna Rodriguez.
No,
Yeah, she's in
no,
it.
I thought it was
And I love her.
Tango.
No,
Jenna Ortega.
Jenna Ortega. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I worked with the Jenna Rodriguez. That's why I said that.
Yeah, good call.
No,
Good
Jenna
save.
I can't get anyone's name right
Jenna-
anymore.
YouTube thinks I should be into her because they started recommending her like shorts by her to me like very hard, and I was like, "What is it? I've never heard of this person before." Then I realized they played Wednesday Addams, and then I saw him in Scream, and I was like, "I get it, but why me?"
I don't want to derail this conversation, but last night you said that your type was grizzled old women.
Really?
I said A type. A type.
Oh, yeah, multiple types, but one type is grizzled old women.
Yes. We were playing Andy's game. We could probably talk more about that in an upcoming episode, but his wife had done the artwork, and she had, done these wonderful renditions of these, like, an older lady who was like a ranger, an older lady who was like the town's guard. And I was like, these women are, oh no, there's something going on here.
Ins and Outcasts is the name of the game, and the studio is Game Changing Designs. Andy Notzel and Jen Notzel. I'm sorry if I said the name wrong. I've never heard it said out loud, and pronunciation is not one of my strong suits. But Joel, what is your first round pick?
All right. Well, I feel like first round picks, you got to go for the low hanging fruit. Otherwise, it's going to get all taken. So, best Halloween film of all time. It's not even like my favorite, but it's right there on the table. Halloween, John Carpenter, first movie.
Oh, that is fair.
me.
I'll give you that. It's a good one.
I was just going to say, I think that it's like one of those films. I just saw it for the first time recently, and it's one of those classic movies that is so. It's so invented the tropes and did them first that you watch it today. For me, at least, I watched it today, and I was like, "Wow, this movie must have been just steaming hot when it came out, but now it's like almost overdone, just because so many other movies came out in its wake doing what it did and just trying to incrementally improve on it, including its own franchise. But the idea of just, everybody's alone in the suburbs, and the suburbs seem to be desolate and empty and nobody's there to help you. That's always going to rattle teenagers, especially American teenagers. So I think it holds up, and it's a classic.
All right. Well, I'm going to choose with my first round pick something, a movie that is near and dear to me, The Shining. I would be remiss if I let somebody else pick The Shining. Some of the best cinematography in a horror movie ever. Some of the most striking visuals. You can just visualize all the blood gushing out of the elevator, the creepy twins, the grizzled old women in the bathtub that Joel was extremely attracted to, no doubt.
Ooh la la.
So how does this work, Joel? Do I get to go again, or
Yeah, so that was your first round pick. Now we start second round with you, so you get your second round pick immediately.
All right, I'm going to go with the Alien for my second round pick.
It's a good one.
Tension, Jaws in space, Sigourney Weaver being awesome, one of the first super strong heroines in cinema to get a I don't know, an action-ish role in the modern era. Yeah, lot to love about Alien.
I mean, it's a classic design. Behind the scenes, Danny and I were working with one of our artists and on one of our cards that's supposed to be much more horrific. And at the end of we're working with the artist. We're trying to communicate, how do we make this unsettling? And I just had to default to saying, just H.R. Geiger. Think H.R. Geiger when you're making this. And the artist knew right away what we were looking for. The next thing he turned in was basically the take we wanted. It's just that ingrained, that design of the alien and the great work of Geiger in making it.
Was that before or after we told him anus skin texture?
I think it was at the same time. I think that really brought it together. I really hope he took a look in the mirror, peek behind.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, just as a reminder, you just got to get those references in. Okay, Alien, that's a good one. And Danny, I think you sniped me on that one because that was in my.
Good.
I don't know if it was going to come up next, but it was going to come up soon. So I actually had to think for a moment. Like you gotta, like I said, you want to hit something broad, something big. There's the classic franchises. But I have to admit, like when it comes to horror films, I'm a little different. And so if I start getting into the personal stuff, which might be more interesting, I'm not a huge, like, my idea of horror is, like a family Thanksgiving when everybody has a secret from each other. It's not necessarily guy chasing me with a knife. It's like, being locked in a room with people that I really don't want to have a conversation with.
Are you telling us that your pick is going to be Meet the Parents?
That is more of a horror film for
fucker.
me. I was never that into the awkward comedies trend of the late 90s and early 2000s. It always made my skin crawl. But no, I think that the horror film that is a recent classic that fits into that mold. So I'm going to go ahead and pluck that is Hereditary. Have you two seen it?
Ooh,
I have not.
yes. No, it's so good. It's in my cards too.
Oh, really?
Ooh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
But I won't
Butts.
say because Danny hasn't seen it yet.
Yeah.
So I won't
Okay,
say
okay.
anything.
I don't want to get too into it, but yeah, it's more of like the horror of the fact. Like I will say, it's the horror of being in a dysfunctional family is almost
Yeah.
more of it. Like if Texas Chainsaw Massacre was like gentrified, if that makes sense. All right, Jack. So you're going to do your second round pick and your third round pick back to back. So what do you got on
Okay.
your second round pick?
Oh, great! Because I was torn, so now I'm actually okay. So my second round would definitely be The Exorcist, or The
Ooh,
Exorcist,
okay.
Oh,
because I
yeah.
think that was the first movie that I actually got real scared. Like as a kid, like I'm into horror movies, so I'm not easily scared. But that one got me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes
It
complete
was a
sense. I
creepy
mean,
movie.
much like Hereditary, it's almost more of a drama up until the end. It's more like, just like there's just something bad happening to a family, and then at the end, it turns into a supernatural horror film.
Yeah.
It makes it much more realer that way.
I'm just a
Like
little
most family
sad because
reunions. You're
I'm
saying
just a
what?
little, I'm a little sad though because I think the prequels or the sequels, they didn't really do justice to me personally. I think the
I've
original Exorcist is still the best movie.
I've always heard a lot of people say Exorcist 3 is a hidden gem. I've seen the ending, but I haven't seen the entire build up to the ending. And it might also be one of those things where it's like the director's cut is the gem, like what they released in theaters was lesser. But a lot of people swear, especially because the original writer of the novel The Exorcist, I believe, directed the third movie. So you might want to give that one another spin and look out for the director's cut. I think that's really what brings it together.
Okay, I'll definitely check
Yeah.
it out.
But I've
All
heard
right,
the
and you
latest Exorcist that just released is basically dog water. So probably avoid that
really?
one.
Oh,
I heard the opposite.
Really? Okay.
okay.
Well, hey,
Yeah,
don't
but it
take
was
my
from
word
someone
for it.
cutting my hair, and it wasn't somebody I had like a relationship with. So I don't take it for what it's worth. They
Yeah.
had scissors in their hands, so I couldn't disagree.
Right.
All right, Jack,
So
what's number 3 for you?
number three for me is a personal one.
Okay.
The Haunting of Emily Rose.
Ooh.
Only because that movie, again, is also more of a drama, and then it turns in, like the family dynamics, and the unfortunate thing that happened, which is when she got possessed, it it definitely gives it a real spin on family horror. And also, I like after watching that movie, myself and my friends started waking up at 3 a.m. for some reason. Like,
Ooh.
because, waking up at 3 a.m. in that movie is such a big part of it. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, So imagine like you just got super scared about a movie, and then you wake up in the middle of the night and you realize it's 3 a.m. Like, why am I awake at 3 a.m.? I don't want to be. Yeah, so definitely that
Yeah.
Haunting of Emily Rose.
And
I
movies
like
can
it.
make a deep impression on you. And I have a theory that we always kind of know what time it is, especially after a certain age. So maybe it was just subconsciously got into you, and your brain, played some tricks on you and your friends. But that's amazing that it happened to everybody. That's almost like a Ouija board experience, where
Yeah,
it's like everybody swears that nobody was moving the dial
yeah.
or the
That's
wait
why it's
planchette.
that's why it's so scary. And we were all like maybe 16, 17 at that time.
Hmm.
So of course, like the scare factor to something like that happening is like 10x to a
Oh
teenager.
yeah. I mean, you could probably make a horror film just out of the experience of like a horror film being watched at a sleepover, and then the kids just sort of like building it up in their head and almost having a mass hysteria or a shared hysteria together because of how scared the movie made them.
Hmm,
That would be a
I
great
guess
kids on
so.
bike type of movie.
All right,
Okay,
Joel, your third round pick. What's it going to be? How many
that is
kids will
such
be
a.
on bikes?
I know. I almost thought maybe I should lean into the kids on bike trope, but I really after choosing Halloween, that was like the easy pick. I think I got a big one on the board. I think I'm just going to try to pick from the heart from here on out. That said, well, let me think. This is a movie that I've only seen once as a child, but it was like that kind of movie that seared itself in my brain forever. And, it was like on HBO at my dad's house. I watched it with my stepbrother, and it just never left me. And it's not a, it's like so it's another John Carpenter film, and it's one of his movies that I think has gotten a little bit of love, but not nearly the amount of love that like some of his other movies have gotten in the past few years. And it's called In the Mouth of Madness. I think it's the
Oh,
first film that really introduced me to the idea of like hard nihilism, just cosmic horror, things like that. It was about a writer. Like the main villain of the movie is a writer who's writing reality. And at the time, like at the time, I thought I was going to be the kind of writer who sits down at a typewriter and types out a novel, very Stephen King esque, kind of thing. So it really kind of like almost gave me a weird sense of like the craziness of the power of the written word, and messing with people's imaginations. Sam Neill is in it, and so I had only known him from Jurassic Park, so this is like the second role I'd ever seen. I didn't realize that he was usually cast as like a little bit of a scumbag. So it was definitely a departure. It was like one of those movies that sort of like shatters your like 9, 10 year old reality when you see it as a child. So I think
mm,
from the heart, I have to choose In the Mouth of Madness by John Carpenter.
Oh, that's very cool. My cousin Maggie was talking about this last time I went to see her. I guess they watch it every year, so I'll have to
Oh
definitely check
wow.
it out.
Yeah,
mm.
please do. We should watch it
I'm gonna
together.
have to check it out too.
Nice. Let's do it when you're in town. All right. For my third pick, I am going to take
Oh,
Rosemary's Baby.
I think this is four, Danny. Am I wrong?
Is it? Yeah. No,
Wait.
for me, it's number three.
Oh,
Because
okay. Sorry.
the serpentine, it's
Three,
all about the
four. Yeah.
snake, Joel. It's all about the
I know.
snake.
I'm the one who pitched this. All right. Sorry for stepping on
Just
you. How
for
about you
that, your
set
next
that?
one has to be Anaconda.
No.
Rosemary's Baby, Roman Polanski. We're not going to go too deep on him, but I just really like the psychological tension. I like the paranoia, the feeling that everyone is against you. It was just a very, very well made movie, top to bottom, and I consider it a classic. And for my fourth pick, because that's how this works, I am going to choose probably one of the most influential movies of all time, although not particularly well protected on the copyright front, Night of the Living Dead. And this is probably one of the most impactful films on our modern culture, given how obsessed our society seems to be with zombies.
Mm.
I have to give Night of the Living Dead its due. So
Did you see that? I think it was Criterion actually did a full-fledged like restoration because the copyright was so non-enforceable, or basically it was public domain. The movie had gone decades with people releasing it constantly, but nobody doing the treatment of remastering it, cleaning it up, and everything like that. And finally, Criterion stepped in and cleaned up the negative, or found the best prints they could, cleaned it up, and have released like a pristine, great sound, great picture version of the movie. And it's like one of those beautiful black and white films that really benefits from that cleaning process, because you forget how clean and modern black and white looks when it's brought up to date, when it's cleaned up like that. It you would swear that it was shot yesterday when they do a great job on black and white.
I'll have to check that out. I love a good black and white film.
Yeah, definitely revisit it if you haven't recently, because you can find the pristine version now.
All right. Joel, so number 4 is Anaconda. Is that what you said?
No, I fear that I'm playing favoritism. You know what? I'm going to risk what I think should be my number 4 pick with more of a one from the heart and one that I want to recognize. Man, there's a lot of horror films out there. They all have like different settling qualities on you, but there's a certain name in filmmaking in general who it's almost debatable if his films are horror films, but they definitely have horrific moments in them. And the man is David Lynch. And I feel like my list would be incomplete without a David Lynch film on it. So I'm really trying to think. I've seen most of his movies, most of his like core movies on the big screen at this point due to working actually at Austin Film Society. I'm wearing my shirt. This is the shirt I got as an employee of Austin Film Society.
Nice
I was a bartender there. Yeah, and thank you. I felt really proud. I have like 2 or 3 of these different color schemes. I think I have a red and black one too. I'll wear that next time. But through my experience there, I got to see like I said, most of his films on the big screen, and I'm trying to think which one left me feeling the most strange, the most weird, the most sick walking out of it. And I think I have to give it to like one of his lesser films, at least lesser in popularity, Lost Highway. Lost Highway definitely gets under your skin. It gets weird, but I think it really makes sense when you think of it through the perspective of, are you even the same person after you kill someone? Does the act of killing somebody so thoroughly change yourself and your perception of yourself that you actually become a new person? And that's sort of the question that David Lynch is wrestling with in that film. And he, uses his dream logic to really take it to the extreme in that movie. And there's just so many unsettling scenes. He used a young Marilyn Manson in a very, before Marilyn Manson was a household name, in a very just, wild cameo that really showed that he could see like what was going to be special about that performer. And Patricia Arquette is in it, and she is just wonderful as like the almost Hitchcockian femme fatale, or femme who gets fataled, if you will. So definitely check that one out. It's like I said, it doesn't have as big of a reputation as like Wild at Heart or Blue Velvet, but I think it almost creates a trilogy with those 2 films of like like the Through the Looking Glass on murder and mayhem.
Nice. All right. So we've got Lost Highway. Jack, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is travel related, and it's Hostel.
Ooh.
Have you guys seen it? Oh my god.
Torture porn.
Yes.
Yeah. Eli Roth.
I mean, obviously I love to travel, and I never stayed at hostels because of that movie. And in real life, hostels are actually really, really nice. So, no, lately I would never mind staying at hostels now. But when I was younger, I thought that it was really dangerous to stay at hostels because of that movie. So, especially in a country where I don't speak the language.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. You never, I remember when that movie came out, I was like, well, I guess I'll never stay at a hostel.
Yeah, but that was an extreme version of it. But hostels are actually really nice these days.
Like a lot less torture.
Yeah. It's amazing how a movie, like one movie that is like going out of its way to like tell a tall tale can, make you completely flip. There's a movie that's on my mind that I almost don't want to bring up because out of fear of it being picked, but I'm just going to say it. Like my stepdad does not like going into the ocean because of Jaws. He is afraid of the ocean, and he saw
Yeah.
Jaws. He's of the age to seen it when he was young enough to where it was just nope, no more. And it's like that, and you like if you look at statistics, shark attacks are very rare. But
About 10 or less a year. People getting killed by
but
sharks.
it's sort of like the serial killer thing. It's fascinating, it's horrifying, and you like once it happens, a spotlight goes on it, and everybody thinks it could happen to them.
Yep.
You're far more likely to be murdered by a human as a shark
Okay.
than the other way around.
Yeah.
Or die from obesity.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Talk about what's coming for us all. Ugh. Anyway, so Jack,
All right, so
did
what's
you have
number
anything
5?
else?
Yeah.
What did we have? Do we pick 4 each?
no,
We
it
do
was-
5. So this is your last pick.
Okay.
This is this is
My
the
la-
crown jewel.
Oh
I don't-
shoot.
Probably not. One's probably the crown jewel.
Well, this is a film where it changed my perspective on trains.
Ooh.
It's called the Midnight Meat Train by Clive Barker.
Oh.
Yeah, because I used to live in Chicago, and I think that movie was based on New York. But we have very different. We have very similar train systems. So, and especially when I was still a flight attendant. Well, no, when I was still in Chicago as a flight attendant, sometimes you go on the train for like at 2 a.m. And you would wonder like, oh, what kind of people are going to be on this train? And the Midnight Meat Train. Have you guys seen it?
I haven't. Sounds
It's-
real
I haven't
creepy.
either.
It's like a special car where like this car, whoever's in it at a certain time in the night, it diverts to a different tunnel, and then they get taken and murdered and fed to some monsters that live under the ground. Kind of
Oh,
thing.
wow.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's and that was Clive Barker, right?
Yep. Yep.
And I'm into that. You'll see when we get to my final pick. I've got a very similar type of theme going on there. If Joel doesn't snipe it, but I really doubt he will.
Well, I will say Jack, your answer has inspired me. I'm almost wanting to take one that now I'm worried that Danny has it, and it's not necessarily my. It's not necessarily. It's like I'll let the audience know. Like I definitely enjoy horror films, but they never are like my favorite. It's not my main genre, so I am kind of like scratching the back of my head, and I'm just going to say, since it's left on the table, it's considered yet again a classic. I'm almost surprised nobody picked it, but I think we all have very different tastes in horror films. I'm noticing, so I might as well represent what if somebody walks in and says, aside from The Shining, I think Shining is Shining and Alien are the biggest ones that got sniped from me, that I would have said. But I'm going to go with one more Carpenter. I'm sure anybody who's out there, like considering the two I've already picked, the third one, it got to be The Thing.
Oh
John
yeah,
Carpenter's his remake of The Thing is just something special. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. It has a really good quality of still feeling like an action adventure kind of movie while still keeping you paranoid and grossed out at times. And he knows how to, if you want to see a great example of how to raise tension to the maximum level, then cool it off just to get your audience prepared for a jump scare that they didn't realize was going. You got to watch the blood test scene from The Thing. That's almost a masterclass in how to write a scene to ratchet up tension to the maximum degree, and then let your audience think they're off the hook for just a moment before you really slap them in the face with with the horror that's coming.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one. I forgot
Yeah.
that I meant to say The Thing. That was actually going to be
There's just so
my
many.
number 2. There's
and you
so
can
many good
only have
ones.
five.
Yeah. One
But
last thing I love about the thing, really quick, before we move to your final pick, Danny, is
yeah.
at the beginning of the film, they go to the Norwegians' camp, their base, and it's burned down, torn up, just disheveled completely inside. And what I thought was genius and just a great way of being economic with your budget and your shooting days is what they did is they just shot that scene last, and they used the same set they had that they had just destroyed. They just reset it a little, but they basically all the destruction they did to their main set, they just got to reuse it because it basically was like what happened at this base to the Norwegians. I think it's the Norwegians. I'm probably going to get corrected in the comments. If you remember, correct me in the comments. What happened to them is going to happen to our main characters. I love it when you get this preview of what the movie is going to take you through, and you don't even realize you're going through it at the time. It's like the movie setting out its thesis statement right in front of your nose.
Yep. Yep. It's a good one. It's one of the best of all time. All right, I'm going to give you my last one. So this one, this one's interesting and unique because it's one of the horror movies that scared me the most. We all have those movies that keep us looking over our shoulder for way too long, but I never saw this one. So this was purely off what my mind conjured off of the trailer. And the movie is Jeepers Creepers. When I was in high school, I remember walking home from the bus every day, looking around because I felt like, there was like going to be whatever that monster was looking for a meal. Because I think that like in the trailer, they're like throwing bodies down like a I don't know, like a hole in the ground to feed the thing.
Oh God.
It was a long walk home. And I definitely.
You used to live by cornfields?
No, I was in the middle of the desert. It had nothing to do with anything in the movie. I just was like super paranoid.
Yeah, because that was like a farming town.
Yeah, I was walking through like a subdivision in the middle of the desert.
I mean, when we were kids, like we're just thinking of things that would come out and get us for some reason. Why do we do that to ourselves?
I don't know. I think I was a little old for that, though. I think I was probably like 15 or 16.
Hey, man, you're never too old to get a good scare, aren't we? But that actually brings up a great, I would say observation, which is the scariest horror film is probably the one you didn't see all the way through and that you saw as a kid, like through, like covering your eyes or walking out of your bedroom while your parents were watching a movie that you were too young for and just catching a few scenes back to back. Those are ultimately going to be the scariest. I don't, obviously I'm out of picks, but I don't know this movie. I think it was a Vietnam War movie or something. I've never been able to find it, but I just remember seeing like just a scene of a battle. I think it's like these soldiers are trying to save somebody who's trapped in a house, but they can't pull them out, and they know that the house is about to be bombed, and they're screaming at each other. They're trying to do their best, and I don't think it turns out well. But just you saying that reminded me, like that scene, like kind of flashback. And I almost never want to see that film. I would rather it just remain that kind of memory. Like I just saw one scene and it freaked me out and I had to leave the room.
Terminator 2, the scene where he puts the like sword hand or the blade hand through the mouth. That freaked me out as a kid. I saw that when I was 5. That scarred me. And then I somehow, again, I never saw it, but the whole idea of Chucky scared me a lot as a kid. And there's a real long period in my life as a kid that I was like constantly, keeping an eye out for Chucky.
Yeah. Well, we got to keep an eye out for Chucky, but we also have to keep an eye out on the time. And I think we've been recording for a good long amount, so we should probably be getting out of here. So before we go, why don't we just really quick, one last time, Jack, because, maybe the folks have gotten to the end of the episode and they're like, oh, wait, I forgot. What did he say his TikTok was again? Why don't you give us your plugs one more time?
Yeah, of course. It's at Serial Killer Card Game on TikTok and Instagram. Or you can tag me as at Serial Killer, all capital letters, on TikTok. You can find signed copies at serialkillercardgame.com. And you can, if you want fast shipping, you can get them from Amazon. So
Nice.
these babies are available on Amazon, and not just for Halloween, you guys. Like this is a good Christmas gift for people in your lives that like serial killer stuff or crime documentaries or even just
Hmm.
dark stuff. Yeah, I've had people who already ordered several copies for Christmas, so it's a great gift.
Absolutely.
Nice.
This
Yeah,
would be awesome. A great gift,
Hmm.
great stocking stuffer, great coffin stuffer,
yeah.
stuffer. All right,
Yeah.
Joel. I'm slurring my words, and I'm
We
not.
probably should be getting out of here. Well, Danny, before you slur any more words, just really quick, did we? Was there anything we needed to mention to the audience?
I just Joel's type is grizzled old women.
All right then. Well, Danny, thank you very much. You have been Danny. This has also been Jack Malacat, and I have been Joel, here to remind you that you must start somewhere. So why not here? Thank you so much for listening.
Everyone who died during this episode deserved it.